Okay, let's look at what this next turn here in Arkham Horror is about. And we're very close to winning here, in my view. Like, this is much easier than it was in 2. Kate pushed on through another dimension, planning on coming out there and solving it next turn. Vincent went over here to the witch house to see Relay, and he's going to drop into there and try to handle that. He's got his motorcycle so he can drive around a little faster. Daryl stood up. He's been having a really bad game where he hasn't been able to affect much. He's got a big wad of money. And you know what? I forgot to give him his money for the turn. And he loses his retainer. If I can find him. That retainer goes away when you roll a 1 on the check during upkeep. All I did was stand him up, so I kind of forgot to look, but I've been forgetting a lot. But then over to good old Harvey Walters, who, it's been pointed out, maybe I'm cheating with him. I love cheating for the players, right? He reduces sanity losses by 1. The definition of the term loss, whether sanity costs or losses of sanity, you know, it's hard for me to decide either way, because, yeah, if he really has a strong mind, he can face those spells just as easily as the monsters. On the other hand, from a play balance point of view, he's certainly a very powerful character if he's allowed to just kind of shrug off the spells, which is what he's been doing. And his turn's been kind of interesting. First of all, he fired off the Voice of Ra spell, which gives him a bonus to all his skill checks. Great. And then he cast the Plague of Locusts to wipe out the monster that was in his way. It was something that he didn't think he could handle easily. Now, that did a point of his stamina, though, which he can't really lose as easily as sanity. And now he's over and going to take a look at this. In terms of encounters in Arkham, nobody's got real ones. Mr. Lee goes to Relay, and Harvey will be going to the Dreamlands again, which is an easy thing to solve. And now we're going to have the encounters in these other worlds. Another dimension that's any color, basically. So, lost in a labyrinth of high walls, pass a lore check -1, or stay here next turn. Well, what's her lore? Her lore is all the way up at 5, so she's going to get 4 dice, and I don't think she has anything else to help her. Now, it was pointed out that she may have failed a horror check. That's quite possible. Her willpower is at 0 right now, so she's not very likely to succeed at them. She only has a +1 there for the cross. Ooh, okay, so she lies down now and won't be able to move next turn out of the gate. That's a bad sign. The chance of finishing this off easily has just diminished greatly. Alright, well, we'll check Vincent, who's out here in Relay, and that's only red and yellow, so he doesn't play that card. He gets a red one. A lurking monster appears. And we'll see what he has to face there. Oh boy. He's got a Shoggoth. You know, that's a lot easier to escape from than it is to deal with. So he would like to try to flee it. And his sneak's at 4. Does he have anything else to help him with this? He's got a +1, so he's up to 5. Now, it's got a -1. So he's back at 4. But that's what he's going to try. And he gets a success, which is enough to get that out of the way. There are very few checks that require more than 1 success. Some of the combat ones, and some of the event cards do. Okay, and now on to Harvey, who's in an any color. And he's actually in the Dreamlands. You see the mountains move. You lose a sanity from terror. Nah, I ain't read about that. Great. Okay. Well, that looks like pretty close to the end of the turn, but we still got the Mythos phase. Great. Let's see what happens. The Invisible Isle, or Unvisited Isle, sorry. The Unvisited Isle. Well, that's got a gate. Now, I don't think I explained this in my rules summary. When you hit an open gate, that means monsters come out at all the open gates. But what's kind of cool, a new gate's not opening, so it means Azathoth's not going to get worse. So we're going to get 3 new monsters. I'm going to pause and draw them. Okay, so what we've got here is Starspawn, a Dimensional Shambler, and a Cultist. By the little movement symbols, nothing moves. It's kind of hard on my eyes today, but that's a plus sign there. So there are no other monsters out. A clue shows up in the science building, but let's read this. Scientist warns of dimensional rift. All dimensional shamblers and puppies of Tyndalos in Arkham are returned to the cup. If at least one marker returns to the cup, raise the terror level by 1. So this is kind of a mixed blessing. The dimensional shambler disappears back into my bag, but the terror level rises. Now, terror is not a big problem for me in this game, so that's not too terrible. But on the plus side, that Dimensional Shambler's gone, and with all the gates covered and nobody coming out of those, the monsters all kind of defending them, it's kind of nice to have at least one disappear. Whose is that? That's another dimension. That's going to be Kate's. Well, that's okay. And actually, we're looking in good shape again because another gate didn't open. There's a chance we might just solve this thing. All right, and let's go to the next turn. Let's move this. I'm not sure I did last turn. It's not a terrible thing if you don't. As you can see, it's not a competitive game, really. Now, there's a way of scoring the gates and the trophies that you have left at the end of the game, but, you know, you're trying to solve this together. You don't want the world to end. I don't know how much it matters. It kind of is a look at the ending and say, ah, yeah, okay, but I'm more important than you. Yeah, great. Okay, whatever. All right, well, let's keep going. Okay, so we moved our characters. Kate just stood up. The other 2 moved forward in the other worlds. Daryl showed up at the general store. Why? Well, he's got piles of money. He had a couple options. Could go take a class at the university, or, since I've done that with someone else, well, he's going to draw 3 common items and purchase one of them for list price. Let's see what he gets. He's really looking for a weapon. His bullwhip's nice, but he doesn't have something really cool here. A knife, that's not too great. A motorcycle, that might be better. And whiskey. Yeah, I think he's going to buy the motorcycle for $4. The extra movement means that he can be sneakier. It's kind of interesting to be sneaky on a motorcycle, but I guess what he's doing is he's parking it and sneaking around. Okay. Now, he does not get an Arkham encounter because he took that instead. There were other things he could have done. He could have gone and grabbed some clues, or maybe gone and taken out one of those monsters at the gate to make things easier on one of the other characters. But for the other characters, let's see. Vincent gets a gate check here. And red, yellow, he's here at Relay. This glimmer of gold catches your eye. Gain $2. Great. That's not too spooky. Now we hit Harvey, who can take any color, and he's in the Dreamlands, in the Valley of Pnoth, where the dolls crawl and burrow nastily. You hear a slithering among the mountains of bone. Make a sneak -1. If you fail, you're devoured. Well, that would get rid of him. If you pass, gain 3 clue tokens and return immediately to Arkham. Well, that's kind of cool. Okay, so he has to make a sneak at -1. That can't be too good. He's got a +3 sneak to begin with, so he's at -1, so he's at 2 dice. He really does not want to fail this. I forgot to check these, so he's going to try casting some of his spells first. He's Got 6 dice for his lore for the voice of Ra. Too bad he can't defeat them all instead. That would be really useful, wouldn't it? But it's an event, and you can't use it that way, even though it might seem like this. That drops him to 5, but back up to 6. And now he gets 2 more for Ali, which puts him to 8. He should succeed with the spell, and he does. But that just gives him a +1 check to that sneak. And all he's got total is 3 dice for that. That's not very good. There's a good chance he's dead here. Yep. Harvey's dead. I think he comes in next turn with a new character. But that's pretty severe. There aren't a lot of things that'll kill you in this game. And there's one of them. And now let's go over to Kate, who's any color in another dimension. Fight -2 to lever back the lid of a stone chest. Inside you find $8. If you fail, you lose a stamina. Okay. Well, fight -2 is only 2 dice. And she really doesn't have anything else going for her. She succeeds and gets, what was that, $8. So she's got piles of cash too now. Right. And she's done. Alright, I gotta check what happens with Harvey. I know he's dead and all his stuff's gonna go away. But, well, I'm not sure how I select a new character. Well, so the big question was, when does the character come back? Does he get bone to turn or whatever? He doesn't get bone to turn, which is kind of weird, actually. You lose your character, that's pretty severe. But we ended up with the big cheese Indiana Jones, I mean Monterey Jack. He gets starting equipment of a revolver and a bullwhip. Doesn't have a lot of sanity, but he has a lot of stamina. He's not purely a physical character, though. He has fairly good lore if he wants it, and he's got a lot of luck. He also got some cards that were from the random thing. +1 to sneaking, which is very cool. The Powder of Ibn Ghazi, which pretty much allows you to win a combat with a magical weapon. It's +9 dice. And Enchanted Jewelry. Any face, put a stamina token from the bank on it to avoid losing a stamina. Once there are 3 on it, you lose the jewelry. So that's kind of cool, except that he's got plenty of stamina. He doesn't really need that, probably, but that's okay. But now we've got the Mythos phase. And what looked like we were almost ready to win, well, it's gotten a lot harder. Not only is there a gate that was about ready to get closed that's not, but also one of the gate trophies went away back under the deck, which means that we still need to get 3 more before we can succeed. Well, we need 3 more to close anyway, but beyond that. So let's see what we get. Okay, the graveyard got one. Ah, more monsters coming. I'll take a break while I pull those. Well, a few of these kind of annoying things showed up. First of all, I had to look up the monster limits rules. There's a limit of the number of monsters that are in the game. You know, you had to hunt down in the rules. So it would be nice if there was a player aid card with, you know, the maybe 10 rules that actually matter to the game, as opposed to having to page through this ultra-wide, annoying, glossy book to hunt down the line somewhere that you need. I find that really annoying. But anyway, it turns out it's the number of players +3 that you must have, that you can have. And maybe there is here. There is sort of, yeah, it looks like there is sort of a list of them here, which is kind of useful. Now let's see if the other thing is here, which is monsters moving. We got special abilities, but I can never remember the movement of monsters. And I'm not seeing that on here. Maybe it's on the page before? No, that's an advertisement. Good use of the rules, though. Alright, so somewhere or another in here is monster movement. Here it is. Because we've gotten some interesting colors that I don't know. Yellow and green. Green, I think, means can't move. No. Yellow is cannot move. That's the ghost. Green is unique. Has special movement abilities. Those will be listed on the back. Okay, well, let's see what it says. Instead of moving, roll a die on a 4 through 6. All investigators in Arkham loses stamina. Alright. Well, here's the thing. I don't know what that means. Instead of moving. Does that mean if I get the symbol? I'm going to say yes, but flying creatures don't seem to be limited by that. So, I don't know. It's hard to tell. But let's see. What do we got here? We've got a plus and a crescent. That's not going to do anything. We've got a triangle. He's going to move, so everybody in Arkham's got to make a roll. And here we've got a couple of crescents. So we take his effect into play, which is a 4 through 6. All investigators will lose a stamina. Alright, so that happens. And that's Monterey. And oh, poor Daryl. To the hospital with him, if I can find that. And this is one of the problems. Now, I believe he just gets one for free to be here, and then he could stay on his next turn after he recovers, but you know, just bad things are happening to him continuously. He really does need to recover both his stamina and his sanity. He's not very useful as it is. Now we got an interesting kind of card. Well, let's see. We've got a clue? No. We've got a card which is a rumor. Ongoing effect. Cultists, witches, warlocks, and high priests have their toughness increased by 2 while this card is in play. Place 1 clue token at the end of every Mythos phase, beginning the turn after it entered play, which is kind of a weird mechanism that's in this game all over the place. That you don't get the tokens right away. I guess it kind of makes sense, but... Alright. Pass. If a single player discards 3 spells for 4 if there are 5 or more players, while on the French Hill streets during the Arkham Encounter phase, you return this to the box, and each player gains 2 clue tokens. Well, if anybody's got 3 spells, that would probably be a good idea. But I don't think anybody does. He's got a couple, and she's got a couple. Fail. If there are ever 5 clue tokens on this card, return it to the box. From now on, draw 2 Mythos cards each Mythos phase, ignoring everything on the first card except for the gate opening. Ouch! And we did not have a gate open again, though. So, we don't get any more eyes. Alright, well, not a good turn for our erstwhile adventures. Things were looking good, and they're not having gates open up everywhere, but they are having monsters showing up, and they lost a key character. Not that Monterey Jack's bad, but Harvey was in a really good position and had a lot of stuff, so it's really a shame to have lost him. Ooh, Daryl loses some stuff for going unconscious, and actually he's probably lost stuff for going into Lost in Time and Space. I've got to look up and see what that effect is. Okay, so he had to lose half his items and half his clue tokens. He didn't have any clue tokens, but for items, he chose to get rid of that alien statue. He likes the bullwhip and the motorcycle better. They kind of are useful all the time. And he would have had to get rid of all retainers. He does not lose his next turn, though, so he'll be there at St. Mary's. He'll probably spend a couple bucks and get his stamina back. Unless it looks like there's something tremendously valuable to do, because he's not in good shape there. Alright, I'm going to load this sucker up.